Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Legal Gym Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that is going to be really interesting for a lot of people that are just starting out their business. This is something I get asked about all the time, especially as a trademark lawyer, and that's how to choose the right name for your business. And specifically, what we're going to be talking about is, should you choose to go with your own personal name as the name of your business and your brand, or should you pick a separate name as the name for your business and your brand? And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, just a quick reminder for the show notes for today's episode, which will of course include all of the links and resources for everything that I'm going to be discussing today. Make sure you head on over to hawthornelaw.net/34. That's hawthornelaw.net/34. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. Before we get into the amazing content for today's episode, I wanted to let you know about a new training that I'm working on. I'm going to be teaching my 4R framework to get your trademarks registered quickly and easily. In addition, I'll be sharing the top 3 mistakes that I see online entrepreneurs make that can sabotage their brand and even force them into bankruptcy. So if you want to sleep better at night knowing that your brand is protected, you definitely don't want to miss this training. Just head on over to hawthornelaw.net/trademark to get notified when the training is live. One more time, that's hawthornelaw.net/trademark. And don't forget, everyone who attends this training is going to get a free gift. So if you're an entrepreneur who is building a brand online, this is one training you don't want to miss. One more time, head on over to hawthornelaw.net/trademark to get signed up for the notification list today. All right, so when you're just starting out in business, a debate that you may be having with yourself is whether you should name your business after you, in other words, your personal name, or whether you should come up with a unique brand name for your business. This is such a critical question for many new entrepreneurs. So in today's episode, I wanted to review some of the things, some of the factors, pros and cons that you might want to be thinking about as you make this decision. And I came up with 9 separate reasons why maybe a brand name would be better, as well as some examples. And then I came up with several reasons why a personal name might be better for your business. And like I said, this is a question that I get asked a lot about with my students in my program, as well as my trademark clients ask me about this as well. And then after we get through all of these reasons, I'm going to talk to you about how this legally could impact your business when it comes to filing your trademarks. Let's go ahead and start with some of the reasons why a brand name might be better for your business. And the very first reason is that a brand name suggests scale. What do I mean by that? I mean that a brand name, if you name yourself something other than your personal name, it might suggest to a target client or customer that your business is actually bigger than you actually are. So it might just be you, but you could have a brand name and a website that's professionally designed and things like that. And if somebody is choosing between using, say, your business and another brand, then you put yourself on equal footing with that other brand. Versus if somebody is choosing between going with you personally as your brand as a solopreneur versus another business that has a brand name that's more established, then that kind of puts you at a little bit of a disadvantage. And this is another reason why, as an aside, I do recommend that people set up LLCs for their business, because an LLC, one of the things it will do is make you look more professional than you actually maybe are. I'm not saying you're not professional. I don't mean to say that. But having that LLC does lend some credibility to your business and what you're doing. If you're just a solopreneur and you're operating as a sole proprietor, when somebody comes to do business with you, that might be harder for them to reconcile, especially if they're going to have to pay you a large fee for the work that you're doing. So that's number one. A brand name suggests scale. Number 2, a brand name gives you some flexibility with what you're doing with your business. And what do I mean by that? Well, imagine if you are doing business as yourself, as your personal name, and you have to go to a business to do the service that you're offering, and you bring a couple of your contractors with you, and they just, you kind of walk in, you say, hey, my name's, John, and these are some people that work with me, versus going in and saying, hi, my name is John, this is, Sally and Joe, and we're with XYZ brand. That lends a little bit more flexibility to what you're doing with your business. And again, also somewhat suggests that you're bigger than you actually are. The customer doesn't necessarily need to know that it's you and you've got two independent contractors working with you. If you are operating under a brand name, you might have a lot of other people working with you, or you might have nobody else working with you, and they really have no way of knowing that. But if you're operating under your personal name and you come in with one or two independent contractors, then they just look at you and these two other people, and maybe that's as big as your business is. And so the brand name actually gives you some flexibility to grow and contract as you need to when you bring on certain projects and when you're working on different types of things in your business. Now, the third main reason why a brand name is a strong choice is because you can use that brand name to convey a meaning about what you do or how you do it. Now, when it comes to trademarking, this is what we call a suggestive name. So I've used this example in the past. A name like Greyhound suggests that the bus line is fast. It's not, it's suggestive of the fact that you have a business that is operating fast and on time. Now, with your brand name, you can choose a brand name that is somewhat suggestive of what you do without being overly descriptive. And that's something that can be to your advantage when it comes time to be marketing your firm. If you're just using your own personal name, then there's really nothing to suggest any quality of the type of service that you provide if you're just using your personal name. Now, the fourth reason is what we call the pronunciation/spelling conundrum. So if you have a name that's hard to pronounce or a name that's hard to spell, when you use your personal name in your business, that can cause you problems. Conversely, if you decide to pick a brand name, you can control what your name is. You can control how easy it is to spell and pronounce. You can control the number of syllables and how easily it rolls off the tongue. And also, if you're doing business internationally, then there might be, and I'm not saying there would be, but you never know, there could be prejudices or pronunciation errors with your name that might be very easy to reconcile if you're doing business solely in the United States. But if you're doing business overseas, those things can lead to certain issues with your business potentially, and you can eliminate those by picking a brand name that is going to, again, be suggestive of the type of quality of service that you provide and the service you actually do provide. And then also you can eliminate those pronunciation and spelling issues with regards to your name if you have a name that's really hard to pronounce or spell. And then on the flip side, of course, is the next reason number 5, is a brand name can actually be more distinctive. And this is kind of the opposite of the pronunciation spelling conundrum we had before. If you had a name like John Smith and there's like 12,000 John Smiths in the world on LinkedIn, and you're trying to, you want to make sure that somebody can find you online, and you have a very common name, then if your name is something like John Smith, then you might want to choose a brand name that conveys what you do and is a little bit more distinctive in the marketplace, and as well as, eliminates those issues with spelling and pronunciation. So you can do a lot of that by picking a brand name for your business. Now, the sixth reason why you might want to pick a brand name for your business is that you have no interest in being the face of your brand. You actually don't want to be the face. You don't want to have a podcast. You don't want to have a YouTube channel. This is true for a lot of personal finance blogs. When they're just getting started, they don't want to be the face of their brand, especially if they're talking about their own personal finances in that situation. So if you have no interest in being the face of your brand, then obviously you can pick a name for your brand name, which kind of goes in line with number 7, is that you want to build a company that's separate and apart from you, that can grow, scale, and eventually, hopefully, you could sell it. Now, if you are the face of your brand, then it might be hard to sell that company. It might be harder to sell that company and step away from that company, especially if you are the face of the brand. But if you have created that separation between you and the brand that you've created, then it is something that you might be able to grow, scale, and then eventually sell down the road. Which leads us to number 8. And number 8 is if your target market would rather purchase from a firm rather than a person. So if you're doing a lot of B2B work and corporate work where corporations are your client and they want to know that they are hiring a brand and not a single person, then this is going to be especially important that you actually build a brand and not just have your own personal name as your brand name. So if you're an agency or a consulting firm or a professional services firm or something like that, then it might be more important that you actually have a brand name than name yourself as a person. Now, this can obviously change if you acquire some notoriety in the marketplace and you become really well known for what it is that you do. Even though your business is operating under your personal name, it's assumed that you still have a large team working with you. But if that's not the case, then you may want to pick a brand name for your firm. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in just a bit when we talk about the legal implications of picking a brand name versus a personal name as well. So the last reason why you might want to pick a brand name for your business is, let's say you're an entrepreneur and you're building lots of businesses and you actually have a separate business that you want to run around your personal name. Or separate hobby that you want to turn into a business or something like that. In that case, you want to make sure that you use a separate brand name for the business that you're building, and then you can use your personal name for your other hobby business or the other, your other interests that you're building a business around. And that's kind of one way to do that. Now, a couple great examples of people who have built brands, even though they started as solopreneurs, are Nerd Fitness, which is basically what it sounds like. It's a fitness company that started from one guy doing videos because he self-identified as a nerd and created a fitness brand around that to attract other people who self-identified as nerds because they didn't feel comfortable going to the gym where they were around a lot of big, strong, muscular people. Another great example of this is the financial blog, The College Investor, and which was started by a man who just started blogging about investing and student loan debt in college and built this into a huge brand that I think was recently sold, actually. And then another example is AppSumo, which is a digital company that was started by Noah Kagan. And so those are just three examples of some businesses that have grown from solopreneurs who started off small and built businesses around a separate brand and not themselves personally. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't go with a personal name for the name of your business. A personal brand name may be a great idea for your business. And there are specific situations where I would say a personal brand name would be better. And basically it comes down to, number one, you are the face of the brand. So if you are building a brand as a coach, a podcaster, a YouTuber, something like that, anything where you are the brand, then you very well may want to name a business after yourself. A great example of this is Brendon Burchard, who is I guess you could call him a life coach. He's a marketing coach, and he's an author and done all sorts of things, and he is his brand, and everyone knows that he is the person behind his company. And his company, Brendon Burchard, is a huge multi-million-dollar brand at this point. But he started off just with himself as the brand name because he is the face of the brand. Other people like this are Amy Porterfield, who has started, obviously, a digital marketing company. Gary Vaynerchuk, who also has VaynerMedia, but he also puts forth a lot of ideas online about how he thinks about marketing and social media and different things like that, which leads us to number two. If you're creating the ideas, philosophies, or processes or approaches that you want to be known as uniquely yours, then you're building a business as a thought leader. And if you're building a business as a thought leader, then you may want to be the name of that business. And this is another way that Brendon Burchard is building his business, and Gary Vaynerchuk is building his business as well. And so that is another reason why you might want to build a personal brand. And then number three, if it makes it easier for people to find you online. So there are situations where, maybe you can't come up with a great brand name for what you're doing, and it's just easier for people to find you using your name. We talked earlier about how it might be very easy for people to find you if you were to come up with a brand name because your name is so common that there's like 12,000 John Smiths in the world. But if you have a name that's easy to pronounce but still unique, then it might be easier for people to find you if you use a personal brand for your business. And Another really great example of somebody who actually started as a brand and then changed to a personal brand is James Schramko. Now, he started a business. He is a thought leader from Australia in the digital marketing space, and he started a brand called Superfast Business, and he decided over the years, as he's been in business, that no longer adequately represented what he was doing, and he changed to a personal brand. So he changed over all his digital assets over to James Schramko, and now he operates as a personal brand. He's been very vocal about this. And if you don't follow him, he has a great podcast that I'd recommend you check out. Again, James Schramko, and he also wrote a great book called Work Hard. It's called Work Less, Make More, The Counterintuitive Approach to Building a Profitable Business and a Life You Actually Love. So that's the book by James Schramko. I highly recommend you check that out. It's a great book. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that one of the things I was going to do is I was going to talk a little bit about the legal implications of picking a brand name versus your personal name. And here's the nuts and bolts of it. So you are not able to register on the principal registry a personal name unless it has acquired distinctiveness in the marketplace. So you'll see there are some people out there who have registered their name and it is listed on the principal registry for certain products and services because they've acquired enough distinctiveness in the marketplace that they are able to do that. Now, if you want to register your name and you're unable to register it on the principal registry, you are able to register it on the supplemental registry. And then after 5 years, you can apply to the principal register if that's something you would like to do. So that's to say that when you're registering your name, initially, you can't get it registered on the principal registry, but there are a lot of benefits to registering it on the supplemental registry, and it does start the clock ticking so that in 5 years you can reapply and have it registered on the principal register. So versus a brand name is capable of being registered on the principal register from the very beginning, assuming it's not confusingly similar to another name and it's not a descriptive name. If you are interested in learning more about how to legally claim the rights to your brand, then you're going to want to schedule a free branding strategy call with me. That's right. For a limited time, I'm offering a free strategy call to talk with me about the branding for your online business and how to make sure it is legally protected. So if you'd like to learn more, head on over to hawthornelaw.net/TM-video. Once again, that's hawthornelaw.net/TM-video. On that landing page, we have lots of great information about the process of protecting your brand so that you don't have to worry about getting a cease and desist letter or being forced to rebrand your business at a great expense. Once again, that website is hawthornelaw.net/TM-video, and I look forward to talking with you soon. All right, well, I hope that you found this episode helpful, but now that you know more about the differences between picking a brand name or using your personal name for your business, you are ready to implement. Because if there's one thing we love to do over here at the Legal Gym, it's to take massive action. So if you haven't already, make sure to check out the show notes page for today's episode. You can get a rundown of all the links and resources that we talked about here today by visiting hawthornelaw.net/34. That's hawthornelaw.net/34. And that's going to be your home base for all of your legal and business tools and resources to help you start, build, and of course, legally protect your own online business. So thank you so much for listening today. I look forward to talking with you in the next episode.